Real time travel evidence. Many scientists, theorists, and conspiracy enthusiasts have explored the possibility that time travel is not just a theoretical construct but a reality that has left traces throughout history. Several historical and modern anomalies have been cited as potential evidence of time travel. The Philadelphia Experiment, 1943. One of the most famous alleged time travel experiments is the Philadelphia Experiment. According to conspiracy theories, the U.S. Navy conducted an experiment that accidentally caused the USS Eldridge to disappear and reappear at another location, possibly involving time travel. Although widely considered a hoax, the story persists as an intriguing possibility. The Time-Traveling Hipster, 1941. A photograph from 1941 shows a man wearing modern-style sunglasses and clothing in an era when such fashion was not common. This image, often called the time-traveling hipster, has fueled speculation about visitors from the future. This photo was snapped in 1941 at the reopening ceremony for the South Fork Bridge in British Columbia. If you look carefully, on the right-hand side you can see an unusually dressed man in what appears to be modern clothing, sporting sunglasses at a time when most were wearing hats and smart jackets. A man holding an iPhone, 1940. A 1940s photo sparked intrigue online as it appeared to show a man holding an iPhone. The picture, taken on a beach, shows a man, dressed in time-appropriate clothing walking through the crowd and looking at some sort of device in his hands. People were fast to assume time travel was the only possible explanation, but that's not the case. He was most likely looking down at another object, but it's difficult to see because of the quality of the picture. Turkic seamstress mummy. This Turkic seamstress, whose remains were uncovered by herders in Mongolia in 2017 and restored by the Center of Cultural Heritage of Mongolia, wore some fashion-forward gear. The stripes are strikingly like those on Adidas footwear, even though the German company was founded by Adi Dassler only centuries later, in 1949, according to the official account, anyway. The 1860 painting by Austrian artist Ferdinand Georg Waldmüller. It seems to depict a woman holding and looking down at an iPhone. On a closer look, art experts revealed that the alleged iPhone in the painting was just a book, painted from a very misleading angle. The story of Rudolf Fentz is another one of those urban legends that goes back to the 1950s. It claims that in 1951, in New York City, a man dressed in 19th-century clothes was hit by a car. He was identified as Rudolf Fentz, but the problem was that he was reported to be missing since 1876. The items he was carrying also suggested he jumped from 1876 to 1951 directly. Sadly, for this one too, these events never actually happened in real life. They just originated from a science fiction book of the 1950s. The Moberly Jourdain Incident. In 1901, two British teachers, Charlotte and Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, were visiting the Palace of Versailles when they allegedly had a most unusual experience. While exploring the Petit Trianon, a small chateau on the grounds, the duo reportedly began seeing people in clothing from the 1700s, as well as buildings that hadn't existed since the same time period. One of the women claims to have seen Marie Antoinette in person, sketching on the grass. They published a book about their experiences in 1911, titled An Adventure. Skeptics have argued that they suffered a shared delusion, or witnessed a fancy dress party. Regardless, their story is still enjoyed today. The Man from Taured. A bizarre incident allegedly occurred in 1954 at Tokyo's Haneda Airport, where a man arrived with a passport from a country called Taured, which does not exist on any map. The customs officers were baffled when he insisted that Taured was a real country, located between France and Spain, where Andorra exists. His passport, stamps, and official documents all appeared authentic but untraceable to any known nation. After several hours of investigation, officials placed him in a guarded hotel room overnight, but by morning, he had vanished without a trace, along with all his documents. While skeptics suggest this story might be an urban legend, some believe this could be an example of a person accidentally crossing over from a parallel universe with slight geographical differences. Hutton and Brandt. In 1932, a German reporter, J. Bernard Hutton, and photographer, Joachim Brandt, were assigned a story on the Hamburg shipyard. Once there, however, the two men panicked when bombs began falling around them. After snapping a few pictures, they left in a hurry. No one at the paper believed their story, and their photographs showed nothing out of the ordinary. 11 years later in 1943, Hutton was shocked when he read a story in an English paper about an Allied air raid on Hamburg, with pictures showing him scenery he was very familiar with. Did Hutton and Brandt leap forward in time somehow? Victor Goddard's flight. In 1935, Air Marshal Sir Robert Victor Goddard was flying towards a disused airfield in Scotland. He flew into a strange storm with yellow clouds, before descending back into view of the airfield. Somehow, the abandoned airstrip was now in use, with mechanics in blue overalls servicing yellow trainer planes. The storm came back however and Goddard returned home. For years later, what he saw came true. RAF mechanic uniforms changed from brown to blue, trainer planes were painted yellow, and the airfield was reactivated, complete with a new kind of plane he'd seen from the air, the Magister, first flown in 1937. Did he have a vision of the future, or did his plane somehow travel through time? A tiny time-traveling watch. In December 2008, Chinese archaeologists discovered a giant tomb that was believed to be an undisturbed, 400-year-old coffin of Si Qing in Shaanxi County. That's pretty old, guys. Before they even managed to crack the lid and find out what was inside, however, they came across something even more amazing than a centuries-old bag of bones in the soil around the outside of the tomb, a small piece of golden metal, shaped like a watch, with the time frozen at 10:06, WTH, the word Swiss engraved on the back, a watch that couldn't have been more than 100 years old.